Good morning, America, and the rest of the world. This story happened back in 1982. I was a 12-year-old boy who, like most 12-year-old boys, was a little bit of a daredevil. I had just learned to ride my bike. Yes, I was a late bloomer due to the hydrocephalus and the balance issues that birth defect caused, but I had learned nonetheless. And of course, growing up in America, you couldn't escape the king of the daredevils, Evel Knievel, and especially if you were me, because he was my hero. So I had seen him jump fountains, I had seen him jump cars, I had seen him jump everything, and I'd had every toy imaginable. So when I learned to finally ride my bike, one of the first things I wanted to do was be just like him. So I decided, I had this plan in my head that I was going to ride my bicycle off the roof of my parents' house. But I didn't want to not be safe. So what do? I take a backpack that we had there at the house, and I take my mother's, uh, sorry mom, but yeah, I did it. I took my mother's um, tablecloth and some paracord, and I tied the four corners of the with paracord, cutting them in cutting the paracord in what I thought was appropriate lengths, and then tied the other end of the paracord to the base of the backpack, thinking, okay, this will open as soon as I, hit the air. Well, I go around back, I set up the ladder to climb up on the roof, and I then take and, after setting up the ladder, tied some of the paracord that I had left over to my bicycle, slung part of that over my shoulder, and proceeded to climb up the ladder. Now, this it wouldn't be a big drop. It wasn't a 2-story house, it was a 1-story ranch. So it'd been about a 10 or 12 foot drop from the roof. Well, I get to the top of the ladder, I get on the roof, and I start pulling on this paracord to pull my bicycle up, with my backpack on, of course, because you want to be safe. You got to be safe now. And I didn't account for the fact that my bike was going to hit the bricks of the house and scrape up as I was pulling it up. Well, my mother happened to be in the garage, which had a side door. You could go out the garage and into the side door, which puts you right into our backyard. Well, she heard the scraping, so she came out to investigate, and she caught me on the roof just as the ladder falls, and just as I get my bicycle to the top. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, I have never in my life seen my mother more angry than I did that day. Now, I don't know whether she was angry because I was on the roof. I don't know if she was scared because she knew I'd get hurt, or whether she was really truly angry that I had used her best tablecloth as a homemade parachute and had it in an old nasty army style backpack shoved down in it. But she proceeded to set the ladder back up, told me to bring my hind parts back down off the roof, that there was no way in the world that I was going to be allowed to jump off of her roof with a homemade parachute on my bicycle. Now, that was the end of that. However, like I said, Evel Knievel was my hero. So, a few days later, my best friend, who later, as I got into genealogy, I found out that we were actually like third or fourth cousins, but we had grown up together across the street from each other. We devised this master plan where we're going to ride up the road we're going to go from his house, which was 4 houses down from my house, and we were going to crisscross each other on bicycles till we get to the homemade ramp, which would allow me to jump the edge of my parents' ditch and end up in the yard. Well, it started out well enough. We were zigging and zagging, and we were getting speed up pretty good. And then, just as I get ready to zig one last time, my front tire catches his back tire. I go flying over the handlebars of my bicycle and land in the street. Now, according to my cousin, he rolled me into a ditch just before I was hit by a truck that was coming down the road. I don't remember this. I had knocked myself unconscious, so I don't remember this, but I have no reason not to believe that that was the case. I do know that my mother said that my cousin had come to the door saying that Scotty got hurt, Scotty got hurt, Scotty got hurt. You know, he was all upset. Well, Mom asked him where I was, and he said he's in your ditch. So they go to the ditch, and lo and behold, there I am, laid out in the ditch, knocked out cold. Well, my mother wakes me up. She finally gets me somewhat conscious. I wasn't lucid, but I was conscious. And I'm saying, I want my mom, I want my mom, I want my mom. And this is my mother talking to me while I'm saying this, mind you. I want my mom. So she knew something was off. Well, just about that time, a big old goose egg started to appear. So she knew. So she took me in the house. She cleaned me up a little bit. And we went to the hospital. And lo and behold, I had a grade 2 concussion. Now, somewhere between the house and Portsmouth Naval Hospital, which was about a 35 to 45 minute drive from where we lived to the hospital, I started coming to enough to realize that I was hurt. And I had a monstrous headache. Well, like I said, once we got to the hospital, they did x-rays to them, you know. When you're shunted, that's the first thing they worry about. So, the shunt was fine. They saw the big old goose egg on the back of my head, on the opposite side from where the shunt was, by the way. But they still wanted to make sure I hadn't jarred anything loose, you know, knocked any of my screws loose. Well, my screws are always loose, as y'all know. But anyway, when we got back to the house, they told my mama to keep me awake for 24 to 48 hours. Well, 24 hours. They said keep him awake for 24 hours as best you can. You know, they wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to go into any kind of seizures or anything. So, Mom did her best to keep me awake. Hold on a sec, folks. That was a big truck going by. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the story with that truck going by, so I apologize. But anyway, so a couple days goes by, and I and my mother go out to the ditch. Why we both went out there, I don't remember why exactly, but it turns out that somebody, and this wasn't us, it wasn't my cousin, it wasn't me, don't know who it was, had placed a cinder block in our ditch. And I had missed said cinder block by about 3 inches. I imagine it was as fast as I was going. And the fact that Ray, my cousin, pushed me into the ditch, that had I hit that cinder block, that'd have been it. I'd have been done. Gonzo. Yeah, after that, I believe my mother said, okay, that's it. No more Evel Knievel for you. Imagine that. Although she did let me keep the giant poster I had of him with several of his jumps on it. And she did allow me to keep the postcard from the Snake River, approximately about where the jump took, his jump over the Snake River, which he failed at, by the way. She did allow me to keep the postcard that my grandmother had sent when they had gone out to Oregon to visit some family out there. But that was it. There was no more Evel Knievel for old Mutt. So, you know, I had to put away my hero. So that's the impact that the Great American Daredevil had on the Celtic Mutt. I hope you've enjoyed these 2 stories. Please stay tuned for more. There will be more, I promise. And I will see all of you very, very soon. And don't forget to join Mrs. Mutt and I tomorrow night on the 2nd of April, Wednesday, the 2nd of April, for our our weekly conversation with the Mutts. This week, the conversation will be roadside attractions. I hope you all will be able to join us and that you find it as entertaining as we did with the research that we've done. I'll see y'all again real soon. Take care.